Broadcasting live from the EBSN online studios in Columbus, Ohio. It's The Rivalry, the tale of two schools, with former NFL scout and son of legendary Michigan head coach, Bo Schembechler, bringing you both sides of the greatest rivalry in all of sports. Here's your host, Schembechler.
Good evening, everybody. Schembechler, the Rivalry Classic Football Show, with dear friend this week, the great Tom Levenick. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Shem. Good to be here.
It's great to have you on the show. And now we know that Buckeyes for Life has been released, and it is out there and enjoying great success. How's it going with the book sales?
It's going really well, and I've got book signings at Barnes & Nobles all over the country. I've got them as far as San Diego and Seattle and Phoenix. At the same time, I've been to a number of them in Ohio, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I was actually doing one up last weekend in Westlake, Ohio, at Crocker Park. And lo and behold, in the door walks Paul Warfield and his wife, Beverly. You know, Hall of Famer for the NFL and All-American at Ohio State. And Paul's in the first book. And then he walks.
As he should be.
Yeah, well, as he should be. One of the three great 42s at Ohio State.
Well, the truth of the matter is, because there's people like you and me that are running around that actually respect the history of Ohio State football and the great players that played it.
Sure.
I still think Paul Warfield is the greatest receiver in Ohio State history. Would you agree with that?
I would somewhat, because he actually played halfback at Ohio State.
I know, but he ended up being a great receiver.
He ended up being one of the greatest receivers in the history of the NFL also.
Woody wasn't going to throw him the ball. We know that.
You know that.
So he had to play halfback.
Man, could he play in the pros, though, too.
Oh, my goodness.
He's great in both.
He was unbelievable. And what a down-to-earth, humble, great guy. He was such a great guy because when he played here, Bo was an assistant coach.
Yeah.
And so after my mom passed away with adrenal cancer, Bo made sure that Paul was invited as a celebrity to play in all the golf outings.
Oh, good.
So I got to know him really well then. It was really awesome.
You know what? I talked to him. He played in 4 Super Bowls. They won 3. He's on the undefeated team, and all those things.
Yep.
I asked him what his greatest experience ever was, and he said when we came back for the 40-year reunion of the 1961 team, and he said we walked out on the field, and the whole stadium at Ohio Stadium gave us a standing ovation. Yep. And he said the hair rose on the back of my neck, and it was the greatest experience I ever had.
No doubt. Well, it had to be because nobody threw him the ball when he was here. Anyway, well, okay. Hey, we appreciate everybody tuning in here. Now, people can find us. You go to Facebook and type in The Rivalry, EBSN Online. You can find us on Twitter, EBSN Online there, and the YouTube channel as well. We've got the great Jake Smith on the board running the show for us over there. And obviously there's been a lot of news as of late, and I'm just so looking forward to getting this suspension over with and to get football season online so we can quit talking about politics and off-the-field issues. Give me your take on the Urban Meyer suspension and Gene Smith.
Well, I would tell you, first off, I would go on record. I think domestic violence is despicable, but I think this situation was a lot of finger pointing, a lot of he said, she said, and I think while I don't condone it, I think this all came about because of a whole group of different circumstances. I think there's a real sensitivity in communities all over the country right now after what happened at Baylor, what happened at Michigan State, what happened with our own Dr. Strauss, and that was well over 10 years ago. But I think there was a lot of sensitivity, and I really truly believe, Urban, made some mistakes in how he handled things, but it was the how, it was not the what. I think, he did not condone anything that Zach did. In fact, he even told him if you hit her, you're fired, and, then did fire him. And I think it was all an awful lot of timing, and I do believe the entire situation was kind of the victim of circumstances. And I saw where Drake came out and said Urban Meyer and Gene Smith didn't violate any university any university policies. They didn't violate any aspect of their contract. They didn't cover anything up, but yet we allowed someone to stay in our midst who was accused of domestic violence, and that sets a bad example for our players. And so I believe that. Yep. Could Urban have handled it differently? Yes, he could have. Yep. Did he make some mistakes with the media? Yeah, he did. And I remember somebody else that had media mistakes, and his name was Woody Hayes. Yep. And so having said that,
Woody detested the media.
He did.
But that was part of it.
I agree. But I would just tell you, you and I have said this before, kind of like the old Monday Night Football slogan, I'm ready for some football. Let's play some football, and let's I would say one more thing. It's not necessarily looking over your shoulder at what happened and try to put the pieces together at this. It's more importantly now, how do we do better, or how does Ohio State do better moving forward in the future?
Right.
What do you learn from this and get better?
Well, the thing I find interesting, and this is after reading the 23-page report as well as the press conference, and there was one thing that really jumped out at me, and Gene Smith talked about looking at their hiring procedures, all right? And I think that's critically important when you're talking about human resources, the way those programs are supposed to be set up. Obviously, they did background checks on Zach Smith. I want to go back to my dad's career because, and I'm always going to go back and say this, is that you as a head coach, you are only as good as your assistants. And for Urban, it's your 9 or 10 assistants. And one of the things my dad took great pride in is knowing exactly who his assistant coaches were, all right, before hiring them. And some of them had issues. There's make no mistake. But I think if you understand all the players that are on your coaching staff and understand their strengths and weaknesses, if they have any issues, and I think Urban, and he admitted it, is not knowing all the things that Zach Smith was involved with. And I think that's going to be the greatest lesson that Urban's going to take out of this, is he's going to be much more up front and doing his due diligence and research and understanding all of his assistants before they even hired him.
I agree. And there's an old adage which says, inspect what you expect, which alludes to exactly what you're saying. It's don't take things for granted. Get in there and inspect and find out what the heck is going on behind the curtain, kind of Wizard of Oz. I would also say one last thing is I think Urban's actions were clouded a little bit by his relationship with Earl Bruce.
There's no doubt. I
really do. I think he wanted to kind of walk on eggshells and tread a little bit lightly because Zach Smith was Earl's grandson, and I think that affected this too.
Yep. And you should never do that.
Right.
I mean, I remember my dad used to bring in GAs all the time, and he would hire GAs of some of his very best coaching friends that were outstanding coaches. And he'd bring them through there, have them get their master's degree and serve for 2 years. And by the end of that 2 years, he knew if they were going to be a good coach or not. And oftentimes he would send those guys back home and says, you're not cut out for coaching, young man. Let's go out and find something else for you to do. And so I just think you have to really know your staff. You have to know everything and how they're wired. And that to me is what's going to set Urban apart in terms of how he's going to deal with this going forward. Because if he's going to be considered for the Hall of Fame when it's all said and done, he's going to have to learn this lesson.
Absolutely.
And I think until then, the voters are going to be pretty skeptical of putting him in at this juncture.
He's going to have to take it to another level.
Yep, no doubt. No doubt about it. All right, so, hey, we got a great show coming on tonight, and we're going to get WTK's own Michael Spath, my dear friend from up in Ann Arbor. He hosts the show with WTK called In the Huddle. I believe it's called In the Huddle. I'll get it right. But he's going to come at us with the Michigan perspective on how all this is going on, and then obviously there's a big game coming up, 2 big games coming up a week from Saturday. Michigan plays at Notre Dame. Ohio State plays host to Oregon State. One game's going to be better than the other. I think you can admit that, Tom.
I do, yeah.
I mean, we can get mad at Gene Smith about all this stuff, but I can get mad at him. Well, you got to freaking schedule some decent games out there, right? And we're Ohio State's putting everything on TCU in a neutral ground. But the truth of the matter is that they got to do a better job scheduling tougher games, Ohio State.
Yeah, they do. But I will tell you, I was looking today. The schedule's 6 to 8 years out, and I'm looking at Oklahoma on the schedule in the preseason schedule, and some big games. Notre Dame is back on the schedule with Ohio State in 2022.
About time.
There's some biggies, but I would tell you TCU is a big school, but. Back 8 years ago when they scheduled this, or 10 years ago, people might not have thought that because TCU has been really powerful, let's call it the last decade.
Yeah.
And I would also say it's not a neutral field because we're playing them in Dallas.
True. Good point.
And
kind of a home game for the TCU Horned Frogs.
Yeah, going to be. But
are you predicting a defeat for the Ohio State Buckeyes? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm not. I think we're gonna beat them. And if you look at the Oklahoma State game, I'm not a betting man. It's against NCAA rules for me to do that. However, occasionally I do glance at the spread because I'm always amazed at how close the spread comes to reality.
Yeah. And
the Buckeyes are favored by 38 points as of this morning.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
because Baker Mayfield's not playing in this game, so that goes to Ohio State's favor.
Well, I'll tell you what, they'll look okay.
Yeah, now that Baker Mayfield, he may end up playing some games this year for the Cleveland Browns.
He might.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to November 20th anyway.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Before I go any further, last week, the Schembechler family, we had some tough news in our family. So my brother-in-law, Mike Racy, who's a very dear, great family man, loved Mike to death, and he just got diagnosed with leukemia 2 weeks ago. And he's in between jobs, and so we need to step up and do some fundraising on behalf of the Racy family. So his wife, Nicole, my nephew, Connor, and my other nephew, Colin, they need your help today. And so I want people to go to the GoFundMe page, and it's called Team Racy. And so go on to that page for us at your earliest convenience, and no amount is too small. So anybody that can make a donation, go ahead and go to the GoFundMe page for Team Racy and make a donation for my brother and his wonderful, wonderful family. So Mike and Nicole, Connor and Colin, we love you so much, and we're going to do whatever we can to support you as you get through this tough time. And one thing we know about Mike Racy, he is a true diehard Buckeye fan, loves Ohio State. So just because a Michigan guy asks for a donation doesn't mean that the Ohio State Buckeye Nation can't step out here and get some things done.
Absolutely, and just for the people that are watching and listening, how is Racy spelled for Team Racy?
R-A-C-E-Y. Thank you so much.
You're very
That's
welcome.
Critically important.
I thought so too.
Yeah. And so we do have the GoFundMe link up there on the screen. So if you guys just go through there and just type in Team Racy, Team-R-A-C-E-Y. All right.
And while we're on that, you know what? And you mentioned Ohio State fan and Michigan guy and those kind of things. The first book that I wrote, Buckeyes for Life, a percentage of the proceeds goes to the Urban and Shelley Meyer Cancer Research Fund at the James. However, Shem, you heard me talk at one of our last shows that on the next book, when it does come out, we're going to donate a percentage of the proceeds to the William White Family Fund for ALS. And William was diagnosed with ALS. That's a tearjerker.
Yeah.
But since then, we've decided, and we've done this. It was approved this week by the Secretary of State's office. We have created the Buckeyes for Life Foundation.
Right.
That the next book, the 10% of the proceeds of the book are going to go into the foundation. And from the foundation, then we can pay out to different entities like Team Racy. And we are going to do that. Whether it's Michigan or Ohio State, we're going to do it.
That's outstanding. And you talk about a Michigan guy. There's not a Michigan guy that's a bigger fan of William White than me. And
boy.
And there's a variety of reasons for that. And I got to know William White when he was our starting safety for the Kansas City Chiefs back when I was in the National Football League.
Yeah.
And you talk about a guy that got Derek Thomas and Neil Smith and all those guys lined up. Without William White, our defense was pretty screwed up. All right, and I think if Gunther Cunningham, the old defensive coordinator there, was with us, he would say the same thing.
William's got a heart as big as a pumpkin.
Yep.
He does.
Well, plus he's brilliant, and he's a great leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How many? I won't say this, but he was very smart. He got his degree in metallurgical engineering.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. My father had a dual degree in chemistry and metallurgical engineering. I can remember hearing what he went through, and William was a football player.
Yeah. Well,
that's quite a high level.
It totally makes sense. If you're going to get all the secondary lined up correctly, you better have a major like that.
Yeah. Him and Greg Fry in molecular biology. Those are two good ones for me.
Exactly. No doubt. No doubt. Well, let's take a quick break. Jay, take us to a break. We're going to get Spath on the line here from up in Ann Arbor. And he's going to talk about Michigan football and obviously their take on the Urban Meyer investigations. We can get that thing wrapped up. We'll be right back. The Rivalry Classic Football Show. Go Blue.
OH.
If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and blue gear from Nike and Jordan brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan Athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the MDen today online at www.mden.com. Go Blue.
This is Doug Worthington, former Ohio State captain, and I'm at The College Traditions, where they have the official Nike apparel that the college players and the coaches wear on the sideline. College Tradition has the flags, they have the decals for the cars, they have everything to show your Buckeye pride. Come down, Buckeye Nation. College Tradition has a range for your feline friends and your canine pups that you can come and get them laced up in some of the best Buckeye gear. Being 6'6", 305 pounds, it is hard to find gear in my size. College Traditions have up to 5X in some of your best Buckeye gear. Come get you a lid, curve up that dome with the best hack selection in Columbus, Ohio. College Tradition, all the great apparel, all the great gear, and things for your man cave. Come down, check us out.
At Power Bar, we know you get what you put in. You get the energy and the excitement, the encouragement and the escape, the friendship and the loyalty. You get everything you need and nothing you don't. That's why Power Bar is back with remixed recipes and all new products to help you power on and savor every moment. Welcome to the new us.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm a private client advisor with one of the leading insurance intermediaries for highly successful individuals. Because of our size, we have powerful partnerships with the industry's premier carriers. I specialize in leveraging these relationships to find my clients the most efficient and effective insurance solutions at the best prices. Don't miss out on this opportunity. A consultation with me is at no cost to you. Whether it be for your business or your personal insurance needs, you earned it, and now let me help you protect it.
All right, we're back to Rivalry Classic Football Show. Schembechler and Levenick. All right. Hey, we want to welcome Mike Spath, the legend from Ann Arbor, Michigan, the WTK's host of Inside the Huddle. How's it going, Dr. Spath?
It's going great, guys. It's going great.
Well, you just got off the
very
plane.
Ready for football season, I can tell you that much.
Oh, hallelujah.
Boy, we are too.
Well, it's kind of funny. You can imagine how the Buckeye faithful is down here. They want to get all this suspension crap and move on to football season, and they want it to happen yesterday. So they're with you, but they're with you a heck of a lot more on that note.
Big time.
Yeah, I can understand that. At the same time, it's going to be an issue that probably lingers with them, as long as Meyer's out and then when he comes back for a little bit. So
right.
I don't think it's going away, but certainly when we get a chance to actually talk about some football and watch some football, we're all excited about that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So anyway, obviously there's been a lot of national media attention to this story. And I do have a couple of other insights, but I want to at least get the perspective of a Michigan guy from up in Ann Arbor, just what you think about this whole investigation, suspension, everything that's gone on with Ohio State football over the last several months. What's the feeling up there in Ann Arbor?
Most of the feeling is just people dismayed and disappointed and thinking that Ohio State placed football above all else. Football wins a 6-0 record against Michigan and then a 900 winning percentage for Urban Meyer. Mm-hmm. I think the national media is, I guess I should say Ann Arbor kind of echoes the national media, which is that something nefarious went on here. I'll tell you this, that, they're certainly going to seem like it's coming from a biased point of view. But when the committee met on Wednesday night, I didn't think that, based on the evidence that we had, that Urban Meyer should have been fired. I thought, we probably should get a couple of games, something like that. But I didn't think that, what was available to us at the time warranted anything more than that. What stood out to me was once they released that report, that 23-page report, it's very, very clear that Urban Meyer was guilty of something and has spent the last 3 weeks covering his tracks and trying to cover up whatever he was involved in, deleting the text messages, having like these incredible lapses of memory that somehow are explainable by, him taking some type of medicine, or just like, I mean, the fact that Mary Jo White came out and said, well, sometimes he just forgets things that he knew, things that were important, but we're not too concerned about this. Like, who are they trying to kid? I mean, really, you had this committee stand up there and said, look, we're going to tell you some things. We want you guys to be really, really dumb and pretend that none of this stuff matters. And, at the end of the day, like, if he was found to have not really done anything, terribly bad, you could move on from it. But I mean, the fact that he was deleting his text messages, the fact that he was, that he was telling the committee, I don't remember what happened in 2015. The fact that they tried to pretend that he lied to the media but didn't deliberately lie to the media. I mean, they were so full of crap when they were presenting at the press conference. And at that point, I thought, all right, this sounds like a guy that's committed a crime and is hiding the evidence. And at that moment is when I thought, like, I don't know that Urban Meyer should still be the head coach of Ohio State football.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. And there's a lot of and I read the same report you did, Mike. And the one thing I found is I thought the report was not complete in many ways. And I'm not going to defend Urban Meyer and with the text messages and all that stuff. I'm more of to the point where why was Zach Smith ever on his staff? Like if he's not on his staff, we probably don't have any of these issues.
Correct.
And I think we need to hone in on that. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is I have never seen Urban Meyer like that. I've never seen Gene Smith like that, where it looked like they had just come out of a civil war. And the way that Urban answers the question as it relates to the president, President Drake, I can see there's a feud that's going to be going on between the presidency at Ohio State as well as the athletic department, because I did not see them being on the same page, even though they uttered the words that they were.
Well, I think one of the most disappointing things coming out of this was Urban Meyer's reaction to it all. And, whether you're a Buckeye or not, I would think that you'd be disappointed that through all this that went down, he didn't show any real remorse. A lot of people really skewered him, and I think rightfully so when he was asked about what he would say to Courtney Smith, and he said, I'm sorry we're in this situation, and didn't really say, hey, I'm sorry that, this happened to you, or I'm sorry that I kept this guy in a position. How about apologizing to all the parents of student athletes on his team for the last 5 years that have essentially entrusted their kids, their young men, with Urban Meyer and incredibly with Zach Smith.
Right.
I mean, he's been in a position to shape the minds and shape the work ethic and do all these things for all these young men. And this guy has no business having any type of role in a mentorship position.
Right.
So I think that was pretty disappointing. And I honestly thought that Urban Meyer came across like a complete stooge in this whole thing. I mean, he didn't show any remorse. There was no everything he read was a prepared statement.
Right.
He sat up there fairly defiant. And maybe that's what you're looking for out of a fan base. It wouldn't be what I'm looking for out of my coach if he was found to have essentially covered up this entire thing. So I don't know. I mean, it certainly is a black cloud that's going to hang over Ohio State all the rest of this year. And I think it's a black cloud that's going to hang over Urban Meyer for the rest of his career.
Right.
And maybe people down in Columbus don't care. Maybe people in Ohio don't care. But everybody else in the rest of the country and 49 other states seems to care.
Right. Yeah, it totally makes sense to me. Here's my other thought. You really have to take a look at just this marriage between the two Smiths. And I have never seen a post-divorce as public as this one has.
Right.
And people like to go after ESPN. They like to go after all these guys who have been reporting on it. Somebody has to tell them something. And I have never seen a vindictive storyline come out about each of these people that literally tries to destroy each other.
Yeah.
And I think the thing, and I was reading a couple posts here today, and this is coming from a coach's kid, because obviously, when you're Schembechler or Bruce or something like that, going in that you are within a fishbowl, all right? And how you act and how you behave is critically important. But I think what gets lost out of this thing is the impact of the children, the grandchildren.
Huge.
And I worry that when these kids go to school, when they grow up, when they get into their teenage years, somebody may say something to them. And I just think we have to do whatever we can to avoid that scenario. And we have to quit throwing people under the bus down here and quit talking to the media and where all this horrible news comes out. And I think at some point we have, whether it's the media or people that are involved with these stories coming out, you got to have some level of scruples to be able to tell these stories. And I don't think anybody really thought about the impact on the kids.
No, not at all. I agree.
No,
with you.
I don't think anybody has. I mean, let's face it. At this point, Zach Smith has emerged an immature, petulant person that has no business being in front of a microphone.
Right.
And really has no business probably being a father based off of everything we know about the guy.
Right.
I think his kids are going to feel a little bit of brunt the next year or two, but I hate to say it, but in our society, we move on to the next issue very quickly.
Yep.
And so I think this will go away.
Yeah.
This will go away, within a couple of weeks, at the very least, a couple of months, because we'll move on to the next story.
Right.
But no, this has been a very public spat.
Oh my goodness.
I've
never seen anything like it, Mike.
People are siding with Courtney Smith in this.
Yeah.
I don't know to what degree everything has transpired, to what degree there was a disturbance, but I think we can all look at what Zach Smith is and what he has been, and that's not a person that anybody should feel comfortable coaching their kids. I hope he never coaches again in any capacity. I hope that he's never in a position where he has the chance to lord over young men or women, whether he's coaching peewee football for fourth graders.
That would be
this
worse.
Man should have no business coaching ever again in his career.
Well, he's been fired. I think his reputation is done. But I would also jump in and say, you know what, Mike, I agree with you that society tends to kind of turn and get on to the next story. But I may have my date wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're back in court on September 14th.
Right.
And it's going to be back on the front pages as soon as because in a court of law, they're going to have all the reports and all the behind the scenes stuff that the Powell police and other people did, that some of the things we haven't seen yet. So we're going to find out, tried and true, here within the next month what really truly happened, and it's going to be back on the front pages, unfortunately.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, as long as there's fresh news, it'll keep up. I look at it more like when, I hate to say it, but like now everybody's kind of turning their attention to Texas A&M. And then what's going to be the next scandal after that? We just keep turning our attention. And I think what's disappointing is like fan bases and as a member of the media and stuff, we just don't seem to learn from any of these things that happen. We didn't learn from Penn State. We didn't learn from Baylor. We didn't learn from Michigan State. We just keep on doing the same thing, repeating the same pattern over and over again. And at some point, we got to ask ourselves, like, what really matters to us, and how is this going to influence the way that we watch sports? And maybe we're reaching that nadir point where it does, where we say, like, hey, we want to take a step back, and maybe we're not going to be as ardent fans as we have been, because these programs and these people that we entrust in very important positions really aren't these people that we should be entrusting in these kind of positions. And the one thing that I keep on saying over and over again is coaches have lost the privilege. Any coach, any program in the country, I don't care if you're at a private school like Notre Dame or a public institution like the University of Michigan, every coach out there has lost the benefit of the doubt from the public.
I agree.
There's no way that you should ever be able to say, like, well, yes, one of our kids is suspended and we're handling this in-house and it's behind closed. No, there's no such thing as behind closed doors anymore.
You're right.
There needs to be transparency, because we cannot trust these coaches to make the right decisions about their program, because too many of them have too much to lose and are in too many positions of power where they're just abusing it. So that needs to end right now.
I agree.
And I got one other thing that kind of bothers me about the report and about Urban Meyer and Gene Smith. You see, Gene Smith is suspended until September 16. Boom, off, no pay. So basically, pretty close to 30 days. But Urban Meyer supposedly suspended for 3 games. Well, hey, guess what? The very first game against Oregon State, September 1st, he's allowed to start interaction with the team again the next day on September 2nd. He just can't coach in the games, number 2 and number 3.
Right.
But he can be around. And so it appears to me, and this is my school, I feel pretty bad about it. It looks like they're putting a Band-Aid on something, and I don't like that either. It's like window dressing.
Right.
And to me, that isn't right.
Right.
Either there's a reason that they're doing it this way, that maybe they don't think that he is deserving of this kind of punishment behind the scenes, but they're trying to paint something to the press, and I don't like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, if you talk,
interesting. I've had a conversation with a couple people, and I said it was honestly, this issue was going to be pretty black and white. Either he did something illegal, he did something that embarrassed the university, he violated his contract, or he didn't. So I honestly thought that it should come down to this: either you fire him and you find that he's guilty, or you don't, and you don't do anything to him.
I agree with you.
This is kind of like this middle ground where it's like, well, we kind of think he might have done something, but we're not going to hold him accountable too much. So we're just going to give him a 3-game suspension to maybe show the public that we're serious about. I mean, they really took no stance whatsoever. Either say he's innocent, we didn't find anything that he did, or say that he violated his contract and he should be gone. There really shouldn't be like this in between, and that's where we're kind of this limbo that we're in.
I know, and it's I'm with
really
you. It's either one way or the other.
Right. All right, hey gentlemen, I want to move on. We want to talk about football, okay? So let's
football.
Yes, Michael. It's the most important institution in our nation, okay? So let's take a break. I want to talk about Michigan football, training camp, and getting ready for Notre Dame, all right? The Rivalry Classic
How
football
about the
show.
Buckeyes?
We'll talk about them too. You're still here. So.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back. Go Blue.
Go Bucks.
If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and blue gear from Nike and Jordan brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan Athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the M-Den today online at www.mden.com. Go Blue.
This is Doug Worthington, former Ohio State captain, and I'm at The College Traditions, where they have the official Nike apparel that the college players and the coaches wear on the sideline. College Tradition has the flags, they have the decals for the cars, they have everything to show your Buckeye pride. Come down, Buckeye Nation. College Tradition has a range for your feline friends and your canine pups that you can come and get them laced up in some of the best Buckeye gear. Being 6'6", 305 pounds, it is hard to find gear in my size. College Traditions have up to 5X in some of your best Buckeye gear. Come get you a lid, curve up that dome with the best hack selection in Columbus, Ohio. College Tradition, all the great apparel, all the great gear, and things for your man cave. Come down, check us out.
At Power Bar, we know you get what you put in. You get the energy and the excitement, the encouragement and the escape, the friendship and the loyalty. You get everything you need and nothing you don't. That's why Power Bar is back with remixed recipes and all new products to help you power on and savor every moment. Welcome to the new us.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm a private client advisor with one of the leading insurance intermediaries for highly successful individuals. Because of our size, we have powerful partnerships with the industry's premier carriers. I specialize in leveraging these relationships to find my clients the most efficient and effective insurance solutions at the best prices. Don't miss out on this opportunity. A consultation with me is at no cost to you. Whether it be for your business or your personal insurance needs, you earned it, and now let me help you protect it.
Welcome back, Michigan and Ohio State faithful. This is the Rivalry Football Show with Levenick and Schembechler. We welcome back our dear friend Michael Spath of WTKA Inside the Huddle. Michael, we appreciate you coming on the air, buddy.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I think there's actually some football games on Saturday this week, so I can't wait for that. They're not going to be good games, but they're going to be football, and that's all that we really care about, right?
We got the DVR set and ready to go, my friend.
There you go.
All right. Well, hey, I think the Michigan Wolverines have broken camp. They broke camp last week, I want to think. And obviously there's been some developments with the Michigan roster. We have now installed Shea Patterson as the official starter at quarterback. What do you think about Harbaugh announcing his quarterback this early when he has never done it before?
I was originally surprised by it, and then as I spoke to more and more people, the reason that I was given is that Jim Harbaugh, for the first time maybe in his career at Michigan, feels really, really confident about his group that he has. And there's a sense that, we don't need to hide behind secrecy, and we don't need to hide behind, keeping people in the dark. We're just going to be Michigan football. We're going to come out there, we're going to play our game, and we're going to hope that when we play our game, it's better than you. And so I think there's a confidence in this program that really has not been there the last couple of years, last year especially. And so that's why I was told he was willing to announce his starting quarterback. And also he just feels really good about who that guy is. He thinks that Shea Patterson is going to be, something really special. And he wants his team to know this is the guy that we're going to rally behind. With 2 weeks to go and before the games, he said, hey, get on board. This is your quarterback. And this is the leader that we're going to follow here. And so I think that was great for him. I think it was a different approach and probably the right approach.
It sounds like a Schembechler type attitude, Michael, don't you think?
It certainly does. It certainly does.
Maybe Jim is finally coming around.
God.
Maybe.
Levenick's getting nervous over here.
I'm not nervous at all.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
Nervous at all.
So anyway, and I've been touting this for quite some time that Shea Patterson, once ruled eligible by the NCAA, was going to win out the quarterback job in this situation. But I really want to talk about this Michigan defense, and I believe that this Michigan defense is littered with players that are going to be playing on Sundays in the next 2 to 3 years. And I think this is going to be the attitude of this Michigan team. And I think Shea Patterson, he had a good interview the other day. And one of the things that he talked about that really jumped out at me is his ability to manage the offense and make good decisions, all right? I think in many ways, if the offense can maintain that attitude and play with some level of consistency and keep the turnovers under control, this defense is going to drive a lot of wins for this team. And when you consider Chase Winovich, Rashawn Gary, all these great defensive players, I think it gives that defense a lot of confidence. Not that they didn't need it before, but I think working hand in hand, the offense to the defense, this is the first time that there's going to be a level of symmetry between the two, which is going to drive a lot of success.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you've had one unit better than the other for the last couple of years. In 2015, the Michigan offense actually in the second half of the season was better than the defense.
Right.
And in the last 2 years, the 2016 and 2017, the defenses were far better than the offenses. And, I know that you're a team, but I'm sure there's a little bit of resentment that boils up when you're doing your job over and over again, and the other side's not doing their job to help you win football games. And so that was especially the case last year when Michigan went through 3 different quarterbacks and really had one of the worst offensive performances I can ever remember as a person who's been following this team for about 30 years.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see what'll come of this year, but certainly when you talk about that defense, you mentioned Rashawn Gary and Chase Winovich. I mean, there are probably 7 guys on this defense that could be first or second round picks in the next couple of years. And Michigan, hasn't had anything like that since the 1997 or maybe the 2006 season, when they both had really good teams. So people are extremely excited about what the defense is going to bring this year. And I mean, right now, if they keep on saying, well, they don't need Shea Patterson to be great, I think he is going to be pretty good this year. But just do what you couldn't do last year, which is don't turn the ball over, don't put your defense in bad spots.
Yep.
And as you mentioned, Shemi, just let them go win you some football games.
Yep, no doubt about it. And I think it's a very healthy thing to open at Notre Dame because it gives you and this is what my dad did an awful lot. They always wanted to have a tough opening game, all right? And when you do that, you're setting up your off-season conditioning, your strength and training, and your training camp so that guys know there's a challenge right around the corner, and it actually enhances how you go about preparing.
I mean, that makes perfect sense, and it's something that, if you're opening up the season against Western Michigan, those guys can slack a little bit, but they know, everybody's going to be judging them right off the bat. And let's face it, coming off the loss to South Carolina in the Outback Bowl, the only team in the Big Ten to lose, people have been hearing, the guys have been hearing all for 8 months how they're not very good. And this is a perfect opportunity to showcase to the rest of the country that Michigan football maybe isn't entirely back, because I think we're going to need the entire season to do that. But that Michigan football might just be someone to be reckoned with this year.
No doubt about it. And when you consider, and make no mistake, I mean, the Big Ten, regardless of all the off-field drama that's been going on at Ohio State, Maryland, and other places, the teams within this league are about as good as they've been over the last decade in my mind. When you look at Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin,
Michigan State.
I think Iowa's going to come back. Michigan State, obviously. I think from top to bottom, this will be as complete the Big Ten has had in quite some time.
Maybe more than 10 years.
Yep. So I think the teams emotionally are in a good position to understand the mountain that is in front of each of them. All right. Ohio State's not exempt either. They have to go to East Lansing as well. And
a state college in Happy Valley.
Right, exactly. And so those games are not going to be easy by any means. And I just think as long as the players emotionally understand how tough a challenge it's going to be, it's going to prepare them to have a chance to win this conference and to actually represent the Big Ten in the Final Four when it's all said and done, since we didn't make it last year.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
I'm right there with you. I really think this is going to be we're on the precipice of a golden era of the Big Ten.
I agree.
With 4 teams in the Big Ten East that have the ability, especially Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State, to recruit elite talent year in and year out. And as long as Mark D'Antonio's at Michigan State, they're going to be a player. And then in the West, Wisconsin has really solidified their program the last couple of years, and they're not going anywhere. Iowa is kind of hit or miss, but this year should be a better team. With Nebraska getting Scott Frost, I mean, they're going to be better. Northwestern's consistently an 8-win team. I mean, this is really an incredible time for the Big Ten, and hopefully they take advantage of it by winning 4 out of the next 5 national championships.
Yep.
And I would tell you, Mike, I think you're absolutely right. And Shem, I think you are too. And if you really look at it, there's 5 teams in the Big Ten that literally have a shot at making the playoff, and that would be Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, and Wisconsin. And it's going to be interesting to see where the chips fall, because some of those, everybody's got some tough games. Like I said, Ohio State has to play at Happy Valley and in East Lansing. Michigan's got to play in South Bend and in East Lansing and in Columbus. And there's some. It's going to be a monumental year for the Big Ten. I really believe it. And there is as much talent as I've ever seen.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll say that.
No doubt about it. Well, good. Yeah, we got a couple more minutes. Hey, we have some comments on here. People are mad that we're not saying anything good about Urban Meyer. All right. Well, let's say a couple good things about Urban Meyer. He trained under a Hall of Fame coach in Earl Bruce.
He did.
All right.
You know what? Let me jump out there. I think Urban Meyer is still a man of character and integrity. I think he was, caught up in some circumstances with, his loyalty to Earl Bruce and all the sensitivities with the Penn States and Baylors and Michigan States that have gone on in a similar time that Ohio State. It was a very sensitive time. Could he have done things better? Yes. Did he violate a contract of his any issue of his contract? No. Did he break a law? No. I think there's some circumstantial things going on here, but I would tell you this: Urban Meyer leads. And I said this the other day on Facebook, he leads with the 4 C's, which are character, compassion, caring, and competitiveness. And right now you're hearing a lot of the recruits around the country that already committed that they're happy that he was only suspended and he wasn't fired. Yep. They're still thrilled to be coming to Ohio State. And you know what? If I was a parent these days, I would question everything going on. But if all these kids still keep coming and the parents are still believers, then – move the Zach Smiths of the world aside and let Urban Meyer do what he does.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, well that was really good. See, now we can say something good about Urban, so all you people online can stop complaining now. Okay. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back. Don Thomas is gonna call in, friend of the program, and so we want to thank Mike Spath. You did a heck of a job, Mike.
Hey, nice to meet you, Mike.
And we look.
Yeah, you too. Have a great season.
We look forward to football season. We want everybody to tune in to Mike WTKA every week, every day of the week, right, Mike? When can people find
Monday
you?
Through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
10 a.m. to 1 p.m. On WTKA.com.
Wow. That requires a lot of talent. A guy that can talk for 3 hours straight every day of the week, 5 days a week. Well done, Michael.
All right.
We'll look forward to seeing you. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with Don Thomas. Go Blue.
Go Buckeyes.
If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and Blue gear from Nike and Jordan brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan Athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the M-Den today online. If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and Blue gear from Nike and Jordan brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan Athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the M-Den today online at www.mden.com. Go Blue.
This is Doug Worthington, former Ohio State captain, and I'm at The College Traditions, where they have the official Nike apparel that the college players and the coaches wear on the sideline. College Tradition has the flags, they have the decals for the cars, they have everything to show your Buckeye pride. Come down, Buckeye Nation. College Tradition has a range for your feline friends and your canine pups that you can come and get them laced up in some of the best Buckeye gear. Being 6'6", 305 pounds, it is hard to find gear in my size. College Traditions have up to 5X in some of your best Buckeye gear. Come get you a lid, curve up that dome with the best hack selection in Columbus, Ohio. College Tradition, all the great apparel, all the great gear, and things for your man cave. Come down, check us out.
At Power Bar, we know you get what you put in. You get the energy and the excitement, the encouragement and the escape, the friendship and the loyalty. You get everything you need and nothing you don't. That's why Power Bar is back with remixed recipes and all new products to help you power on and savor every moment. Welcome to the new us.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm a private client advisor with one of the leading insurance intermediaries for highly successful individuals. Because of our size, we have powerful partnerships with the industry's premier carriers. I specialize in leveraging these relationships to find my clients the most efficient and effective insurance solutions at the best prices. Don't miss out on this opportunity. A consultation with me is at no cost to you. Whether it be for your business or your personal insurance needs, you earned it, and now let me help you protect it.
Hello, we're back. The Rivalry Classic Show with Levenick and Schembechler tonight.
Great to be here.
It's great to have you, Tom. This is interesting. So people, we've had some interesting comments on Facebook Live. So when you go to the Rivalry Show Facebook Live, we got some people that are, they got some issues with different things that I don't quite understand. Amy Gutenstein, what are you doing out there, dear? Who cares about Michigan? The winningest program in the history of college football? There's plenty of us out there, all right? And understand, Michigan spelled with an M. I know you have that whole thing here where you can't utter the letter, but it's spelled Michigan, the winningest program in the history of college football. So keep that in mind, all right? Well done, Jake. That was good timing there, buddy. Let's see. Oh, Josh Thopit Adams. No one wants to hear about a loser team like Michigan. So how can we be a loser team when we're the winningest program in the history of college football?
Not in my lifetime.
Huh? Yes, we did pretty well when you played here, buddy.
I was 3-1.
You were?
Yeah.
Well, then it was after you left that we started to dominate.
Yeah, I was. Hey, wait a second here. I got 2 of those pairs of gold pants right here.
I know. You always.
My wife has a 3rd pair.
And how
I got 3.
And how did you get the concept of the gold pants?
Wes Fessler said.
Francis Schmidt.
Yeah, that's right, Wes. Francis Schmidt, we put our pants on one leg at a time, just like they do.
Why do I know the Ohio State history?
I just got mixed up. I said Wes Fessler is Francis Schmidt.
Francis Schmidt. And so
before that, it was Carol Widows.
Because Michigan was kicking the daylights out of Ohio State, and so Francis Schmidt had to come up with some motivational tool, and it was these freaking gold pants.
And it worked.
Yep.
It worked.
Well, it worked at some level. You're still down by 9, and everything's working out fine. All right?
Time will change.
Hey, we've got the great Don Thomas, our Atlanta, Michigan famous fan. But he's in New York today, right, Don?
That's right. I'm in New York right now.
Good for you.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. So how you been? What's going on this week with one of the greatest Michigan fans of all time?
My Notre Dame ticket came in yesterday. I'm very excited to be at the game next weekend.
Boy, you want to go to South Bend?
The Golden Six Wiffle Tournament.
Yeah.
Which is we're going to be on, which NBC Nightly News is going to be covering.
Really?
Our tournament. Yep, it's going to be on Staten Island.
Are you making another bid for the MVP of the entire league?
Just trying to win. You know, your dad said it best about the team, not about yourself.
That's right.
You know,
good for you.
Yeah, that's what I focused on. You know, just about the team. Not about myself. I just sit in my room right now.
Right.
At the hotel.
Right. Good for you. Good for you. So, obviously, you know, we've been dying around here to get this Urban Meyer investigation, Ohio State, over with, and now we can just wrap it up. Yeah, I know you had a comment you wanted to make this week, so what do you have to say about it?
You know, you and I have been talking, you know, on and off for the last couple of weeks about the Urban Meyer situation.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, I've done everything I can to give him the benefit of the doubt. You know, like, it's, you know, kind of it's hard for him to keep up with so many things in the program. It's hard for him to basically babysit a coach when you have 100-plus men and you're one of the most prominent coaches and the most prominent programs in the country. So I've been trying to see this as just an oversight. But
right.
The more that comes out, the way he presented himself at the press conference, the notes, you know, the investigation that really kind of stays, it just really seems that Urban, you know, either was very negligent or it just seems like he can do whatever he wants. He can hire who he wants. He can keep on who he wants. And I really believe that they tried, Urban and the Ohio State administration tried their best to conceal this thing, and it's a terrible look.
Mm-hmm.
As much as, I tried. You and I both tried. It's hard. It's really hard to justify. An example is they're saying that it wasn't what he said wasn't a fact, but he didn't deliberately lie. What does deliberately lie mean? You know what I'm saying? When you lie, you lie. You know what I'm saying? And I think they said something about his memory medicine and that he's memory loss. It just really seemed like
Don.
It just really seemed like they tried to cover this thing up in excuses.
I got it.
You know, like dog ate my homework excuses.
Yep.
And for a serious matter like this, you've got to be forthright. You've got to be honest.
Yep.
Especially when you are the most prominent coach, when you're the most prominent state employee and a highly paid state employee representing the most
Don, hold on a second, buddy.
Don,
hold on a second.
In the state of Ohio.
Don, can you hear me? Don, we want to be able to maintain some level of objectivity with all this, okay? And understand that, you know, they went through a 2-week investigation. They brought him through there. They were supposed to come out with a decision that afternoon. They didn't come out with a decision until that evening after 9 o'clock, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And I made mention of this earlier, is the idea that I didn't think Urban was quite himself, okay? I didn't think that was, and I don't know Urban all that well. I've known him through scouting and NFL and all that stuff. But I have a feeling that was not the authentic Urban Meyer. And I think a lot of the pressure of the investigation, the outside sources, the media, played a role in all this, all right? And I think, quite frankly, Urban was fighting for his side of the story, right or wrong, in his leadership of this program. All right. Now, we've all talked ad nauseum about the idea, why would you have Zach Smith on there? I think he gets that now. He totally understands that, all right? And I think he's going to improve as a result of this, all right? One of the things that is, and I'm not defending Urban, make no mistake, all right? One of the things you have to keep in mind is that when you are the highest paid public employee in the entire state, all right, everybody, what better for worse, everybody's going to look to you in regards to how to act, how to behave, and all those things. There's a price that can be paid for that, all right? We went back through this with Gary Moeller when he got fired after that whole episode up in Deardorm many, many years ago, all right? And it's not an easy thing, okay? I'll just put it to you that way, all right? When you are responsible for an entire program, an entire fundraising program, and you are the face of an entire institution, the number one state institution in the entire state of Ohio, it's not easy, okay? Like I said, we're not defending him, all right? But I think going through all this and going through the suspension, and now we do know that Urban, like, he's going to be judged incessantly over the next several months, okay, especially after he comes back to coaching. There's probably going to be protests wherever venue Ohio State plays, especially when he's coaching. There's going to be things that this program's going to have to deal with. And the question that I have is, how is that going to impact Ohio State's program going forward, and how is it going to affect their recruiting? I don't think anybody really knows yet. We talked about the recruits and what they said as a result of him coming back, but that doesn't mean they're coming here, all right? They have to decide that they're going to be comfortable with the idea that they're going through all of these problems, and most of these kids that are getting recruited by Ohio State, there's a lot of other people that want them too, right? There's going to be negative recruiting. Whether it's right or wrong. Now, for me, if I'm Jim Harbaugh and I'm running a program, I'm not going to bring this stuff up because it's already going to get brought up. But make no mistake, there's going to be negative recruiting that comes out of this, and it's going to weigh on these kids' minds, especially their families. So we have to remember all that stuff, okay?
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
Jimmy, that's another way. That's a great way to look at it. You know, because I really do believe. I mean, the decision's been made. Ohio State made their decision. You know, the Big Ten backed up the decision. You know, and so I just really believe that, you know, things are going to fall out the way they're going to fall out.
Right.
You know, we know as far as recruiting, as far as wins and losses, as far as the psyche of the team.
Right.
Because there are people in that organization that saw what happened too. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's gonna. I just think, you know, I think you're right from a standpoint. It's gonna come out in the wash.
Yep.
And we're gonna see. What is the fallout, and whatever the fallout is, it's just, you know, it just is what it is.
Right. No doubt.
I agree. I think it's, you know what? I agree. It's absolutely going to come out in the wash. And like I said earlier, you know, the court case is coming up. They're going back to court September 14th. And when it starts to come out in black and white, more than this he said, she said, I think it's really going to lay things out here, and it's either going to go away fast or it's going to flame up. It's going to either get worse or it's going to get better.
Right.
But it's what Ohio State does to learn from this and improve moving forward, and that's going to be what I'm going to be watching.
Exactly. Hey, Don, come on. Let's talk about Michigan football for a second. What do you think about?
Okay.
Come on, we got Shea Patterson. He's our leader. We just talked about the Michigan defense, which I think is going to be one of the best in the country. Let's talk about the Michigan offense. What do you think we're going to get out of this offensive team this year?
I think we're getting a lot more creativity. I think Jim Harbaugh made a great decision by naming Shea the starter. I mean, it's kind of like everyone understood him as a starter, you know, going into fall practice. Mm-hmm. I mean, he did well in the spring, and once the fall came around, everyone's like, "Oh, he's the guy." So there's no reason to prolong this. So now everybody knows who they are. And so I really think we're going to see a lot of creativity. I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see. You know, I think we're going to see the potential of this young, talented receiving corps come to the forefront. I think we're going to see the kind of play that Donovan Peoples-Jones is. And I think we're going to really a healthy Tariq Black. I think Tariq Black, he raved about his interaction with Jim McElwain, and I think that's going to because when you love your position coach, when you love him and when you respect him, you're going to listen to what he says. And Jim McElwain knows a thing or two about an offense. I mean, he couldn't get it done in Florida, but as a position coach, I think he's an overqualified position coach.
Yep.
And I think that is a huge asset. So I think we're going to see a lot of creativity, and I think we're going to see a simplified effectiveness from offensive line with Dave Warner. Because
that would be Ed Dunn.
And, we're doing things that we never could do before, and now we're doing them. And I think we're still talking a lot. I think, we're playing a very good front seven in Notre Dame, but, I mean, they're not going to face a better front seven than what they faced in practice. And if they're feeling good about themselves going up against our front seven, I don't think they're going to be intimidated going up against Notre Dame and Ohio State, even though those are good fronts as well. Hopefully I was able to explain myself. Yeah. I think we're seeing creativity and simplification. I think we're going to see an effective offense, and it's all going to depend on Shea.
Yeah,
not going outside of himself.
Hey, Don, I think you're right. Here's the interesting point that I want to make. Whatever problems the Michigan offense has against Notre Dame and moving the ball in a road environment, Notre Dame's going to have a much bigger problem against Michigan's defense. All right, understanding they've got a second-year quarterback coming back at Notre Dame. They have many. They have to revamp their offensive line. Number one, all right. They had to move some guys around. And then the receivers are still pretty green. They came on late in the year last year to some degree, but to say they are a proven receiving core is far from the case. And so I'm going to dig deep more into Notre Dame next week, and we'll have some serious observations about the prospects for Michigan going into South Bend and beating the crap out of them. All right? We're going to wrap this show up. I apologize, Tom. I wanted to talk more about Ohio State, the team.
No worries.
We're going to get to that because that's what this rivalry show should be all about, all right?
Well, it is. But you know what? Shea Patterson's going to meet 4 people and get to know them really well on November 20th. And Dramont Jones and Baron Browning and Chase Young and then Nicky Bosa. They're going to shake his hand when they're picking him up off the ground.
Well, just remember, there's guys on the offensive front at Michigan are going to have something to say about that.
I know they will.
Cesar Ruiz and Ben Bredesen and Michael Onwenu, and I think they're going to try to stand in the way. All right?
They're going to try.
So get ready. All right.
They're going to try.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will be back. So we're going to be at the Brown Jug next Thursday from 6 to 8, the Brown Jug in Ann Arbor, and special 2 hours. Once we go to the fall, it's a 2-hour show. It's going to be really exciting, and we look forward to tuning you in and everybody getting excited because football season is here. The Rivalry Classic Football Show. Go Blue.
Go Buckeyes.
Go Blue.